Paolo, Harvey, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Paolo, a couple of years ago, you told me that you rather work in Italy with Italian actors because there you can have your cappuccino, you have your own breaks, your own time.
What?
And now, yes.
It's not true.
And now, maybe you were too happy. It's a Golden Globes. People have fun there. Now you're working with English-speaking actors in England, far away from Italy. What made you?
I discovered that I can do the same with American and English actors. So.
But how is it working with English-speaking actors? Was it
Great.
challenging? Was it the same?
The cinema is a sort of a universal language. When you do cinema, there are no differences between American and Italian and French. We all talk the same language. We all have the same problems and the same joy to do this work.
What do you think, Harvey? How language is important to you as an actor when you're dealing with a director who comes from a completely different culture, different language?
Paolo just spoke very well. There's a commonality amongst all of us. We're all after the same things. I'll put it to you this way. There are two Tinos in my life, Sorrentino and Tarantino.
Yes.
There's no difference in terms of approaching the work.
So, your choice.
Thank you.
Making this movie, what attracted you to it? Was it the script? Was it Paolo's style? Or was it his Oscar?
No.
You know, let me say something about Oscar. I grew up in Brooklyn, you know, in a very mixed Jewish, Italian, Irish, black community. And a lot of our parents were from Europe. And we as boys used to make fun of the funny names that our parents had. There was one name that made us laugh the hardest, and that was my friend Morty's father's name. His name was Oscar. So,
Winning the Oscar was a factor in your decision to join his project. Well, I know you like to support. You mentioned Tarantino, of course. You got a great credit for actually making Tarantino because you helped him.
well, it's never been about awards. Success is not one award. Success is a continuity, a process that you get involved in of discovery. So Paolo was one of those discoveries along the way I was lucky enough to trip over, you might say.
And I want to come back to the language because in the movie you say music transcends language. And as you said, film is the same.
We know music is a language that transcends everything. From the moment a caveman scratched a picture of the hunt on a rock and it made a sound, I'm sure. No one has to be explained what music is. You don't have to understand a language to appreciate music. Images, music, dance. I mean, I've been to many countries. I watched plays in French, which I don't speak or understand, that I really enjoyed, and listened to music I couldn't understand the words of. In the Middle East, some of my favorite music is from the Middle Eastern songs.
How come?
The vibrations, and I must say, the music in this movie, Youth, is just, it's transcending. The lyrics David Lang wrote and the music are astonishing. The simple song he wrote is just to behold.
Yeah,
You don't have to be from any country.
Yes. And that's something I see with you, Paolo. Music is very important in your movie. You sense that in all your movies. And it really fuses with the image. Why music is so important in your style?
In this movie, the character of Michael Caine explains why the music is so important. He says the music is. You don't need the culture, you don't need the experience to appreciate the music. The music is a sort of instinct that everybody in the world is able to understand, to feel emotions listening to the music. So the music is the most important vehicle in a movie to to join with everybody.
Aging. Last year, David Cronenberg told me actors die twice. First time when their name vanishes from the billboards, and the second time when they die physically. Do you agree with that?
I think that's a superficial way to look at life, and David was probably kidding around. I've died many more times than that.
But how does aging affect you and your performance and your creativity? Does it have any impact?
I'm learning about that. Youth, that Paolo wrote, is a further step along that way. I feel youthful because I am changing all the time. Something is born every time. In every instant, something is born, a thought, a breath, a cell. And that even when you die, it's going to be a birth into something new. I think this is the best time of my life. It's going to end. That's a bit mysterious to me. But I say, of course it has to end. I look at my son, who's 10 and a half, and he will go through the same journey. And it's like all the mythologies I've ever read have come together in youth. Youth could be considered a mythology as well as a movie.
You know, Harvey, I want to ask you a personal question. You're one of the finest actors of your generation, yet we hardly see you in lead roles like your other peers, Al Pacino or De Niro. Why is that?
Well, that's a commercial thing. That's a marketing thing. And I'll tell you a little story about that. When I was in Cannes with the piano and Jane, so we were doing the round table interviews at that time, and this last table we came to were like the New York Times and the Washington Times and the LA Times and very big journals. And one of the journalists said to me, "How does it feel to be playing a romantic role for the first time in your career?" And I looked at the journalist and I said, "It's not the first time." They all looked at each other, and he said, "When was the first time?" I said, "In my acting class." And that's the truth of the matter. It's a question of luck, a question of box office, unfortunately.
So the fact that many of your roles were a tough guy character, was it not your choice?
I've been very lucky to have the opportunity to explore these aspects of being, you know, to be able to study these different emotions we all go through.
And I want to ask you one final question. Which part do you think was your favorite, that you felt truly satisfied and content by?
There's no doubt in my mind, youth.